Welcome, fellow wanderers. Today we're exploring the John Deere Tractor and Engine Museum in Waterloo, Iowa. This museum is a fascinating place for anyone interested in agricultural history and machinery. It showcases the evolution of John Deere tractors and engines over the years, highlighting their technological advancements and contributions to farming. This museum offers exhibits that not only display the equipment, but also dives into the history of John Deere as a company and its impact on agriculture globally. It's a must-visit for enthusiasts and those curious about the evolution of farming technology. The first thing that we see as we enter this museum is this plow. In fact, it's one of the most significant innovations in agricultural history. This seemingly simple piece of equipment transformed farming forever, shaping not just the American Midwest, but agriculture worldwide. Let's start by going back to the early 19th century. In the 1830s, American farmers struggled with the sticky, rich soil of the Midwest. Traditional cast iron plows would clog up, making plowing inefficient and labor intensive. Enter John Deere, a blacksmith from Grand Decatur, Illinois. In 1837, he developed a revolutionary steel plow that sliced through the soil with ease, requiring less effort for farmers and horses alike. This is a replica of Deere's first self-scouring steel plow. What made it unique was its polished steel blade and carefully designed curve, which allowed soil to slide off rather than sticking. This breakthrough improved efficiency and dramatically reduced the time required to prepare fields for planting. As word of Deere's plow spread quickly, farmers wrote letters praising its performance and demand skyrocketed. By the 1840s, John Deere was producing thousands of plows, eventually moving his business to Moline, Illinois, where he could expand production. The success of the steel plow laid the foundation for what would become the John Deere Company, expanding into more advanced farming equipment, including tractors, cultivators, and combines. Today, Deere's innovations continue to support farmers worldwide, blending history with cutting-edge technology. By the early 20th century, tractors replaced horses as the primary power source on farms. The Waterloo Boy, one of John Deere's first tractors, introduced farmers to gasoline-powered efficiency, reducing the time and effort required to cultivate large fields. Over the decades, John Deere continued to develop new technologies to help farmers work more productively.
While preparing for the harvest of 1892, my assistant, William Mann, and I worked on a new way to power our threshing equipment. Instead of using steam power, I purchased a single-cylinder gasoline engine and mounted it on the running gear of a steam-powered tractor. After months of manufacturing parts and making adjustments, I tested the machine in the wheat fields of Langford, South Dakota. The following year, I moved to Waterloo, intent on manufacturing and selling my new gasoline-powered traction engine. Right behind you is a replica of my traction engine.
In the early 20th century, Waterloo, Iowa was a hub of agricultural innovation and industry. It was home to the Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company, a pioneer in gasoline powered tractors. In 1918, John Deere recognized the future of farming lay in tractors and acquired the company, securing Waterloo's place in agricultural history. What we're seeing here in this room is the Waterloo Boy, which is the very first tractor produced under the John Deere name. Its reliability and power made it a game changer for farmers transitioning from horse drawn equipment to mechanized farming. The acquisition of Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company wasn't just about technology, it was also about the people. Skilled workers and engineers in Waterloo had the expertise to drive innovation forward.
I've always enjoyed working with engines. When I was a teenager, I built an engine in the workshop in our backyard, right here in Waterloo. As head engineer, I turned my attention to another one of my passions, the automobile. My colleague, Charles Duryea, and I briefly formed the Waterloo Motor Works in 1903. But it was my stationary engine and tractor designs that put Waterloo on the map and eventually attracted the attention of Deere and Company. I've always enjoyed working with engines. When I was a teenager, I built an engine in the workshop in our backyard, right here in Waterloo. As head engineer, I turned my attention to another one of my passions, the automobile. My colleague, Charles Duryea, and I briefly formed the
Not long after Deere and Company purchased the Waterloo Gas Engine Company, I was asked to oversee the Waterloo operations. So my wife, Roberta, and I moved from Orleans to Waterloo in 1919, just after the citywide worker strike. When I got here, we were able to keep employee morale high, and we continued to expand a factory that was already one of the largest in the city. We navigated some tough times here in Waterloo. Not long after Deere and Company purchased the Waterloo Gas Engine Company, I was asked to oversee the Waterloo operations. So my wife, Roberta, and I moved from Orleans to Waterloo in 1919, just after the citywide worker strike. When I got here, we were able to keep employee morale high, and we continued to expand a factory that was already one of the largest in the city. We navigated.
I used to work summers at Deere while I finished my engineering degree. They offered me a full-time position in 1930, and I worked on the designs and improvements for different tractors. I also helped redesign stationary gas engines and helped improve tractor hydraulics. But no project was as challenging or rewarding as the new generation of power, where we completely redesigned the John Deere tractor, starting from square one.
was involved with many engineering projects at Deere, the design of the tractor industry's first deluxe cab was really exciting work. For years, we looked for the best way to cut down the noise, the heat, the dust for the tractor driver. I relied on the work of our school engineers to reduce noise, while other experts developed air conditioning units that could tolerate the harsh conditions of field work. When the project was finished, in about 1970, our customers really seemed to like the quiet, comfortable cab.
Foundry work isn't easy. It's hot and dirty. But if you stuck it out and worked hard, the John Deere Waterloo Foundry provided opportunities. Back in the 1960s, Archie Scoville, one of the foundry managers, actively sought out skilled up-and-coming employees and promoted them to positions of responsibility. Mr. Scoville actually helped me get my job here at the foundry.
My job is to make sure the parts we produce are of high quality so they will continue to work for a very long time. In a tractor, there are hundreds of parts working at fast speeds in perfect coordination for years on end, despite punishing loads, heat, and stress. Every single one of those parts must meet rigid quality specifications so they can continue to work hard for years to come.
I'm Lydia Figge. I began working in the payroll department processing payroll in 1908. At that time, the company was called the Waterloo Gas Engine Company. In fact, I interviewed with one of the founders, George Miller. Mr. Miller hired me as a bookkeeper, and little did I know I would find a home with this great company until I retired in 1952. I made wonderful friends, and I have many great memories from my time in the office at John Deere.
I hope you've enjoyed this time wandering around and exploring the John Deere Tractor and Engine Museum here in Waterloo, Iowa. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you on our next Wandering Walks of Wonder tour. Take care now. Bye bye.